Can the very foundation of love withstand the relentless pressure of unaddressed anxieties? This film plunges into the heart of modern marital discord, unearthing the hidden tremors caused by unresolved personal issues, or TPM, that subtly erode connection. We witness a couple, once deeply in love, now navigating a landscape of unspoken resentments and growing distance, their shared moments fractured by internal battles. Through evocative visuals that mirror their emotional state, a once vibrant home now shrouded in shadows, silences that scream louder than words, we experience the quiet desperation that settles in. The narrative follows their journey from a point of silent suffering, through a painful confrontation with their individual struggles, to the tentative hope of rebuilding trust and intimacy, offering a poignant exploration of vulnerability and the courage required to heal from within, ultimately revealing that true partnership demands not just shared dreams, but shared emotional landscapes. We aren't just observing a relationship in crisis, we are stepping into the intimate, often messy, reality of two individuals grappling with the invisible forces that shape their deepest connections. This isn't a story about grand betrayals or dramatic external conflicts, but rather about the insidious, everyday erosion of intimacy that stems from within. It's about the quiet anxieties that whisper doubts, the past hurts that cast long shadows, and the fear of vulnerability that keeps us from truly seeing and being seen. Think about those moments when a simple misunderstanding escalates, not because of the misunderstanding itself, but because it touches a raw nerve, an old wound that hasn't healed. That's the terrain we're exploring. We'll delve into how these personal, often unarticulated, anxieties act like tiny cracks in the foundation of a marriage, widening over time until the entire structure feels precarious. The film is designed to resonate with anyone who has ever felt a growing distance from a loved one, a sense of disconnect that's hard to pinpoint, or the gnawing feeling that something is fundamentally wrong, yet impossible to articulate. It's for those who understand that the most profound battles are often fought in the quiet chambers of the heart and mind, and that the most significant relationships require not just shared experiences, but a deep, courageous commitment to understanding and supporting each other's inner worlds. We will unpack the subtle ways these personal issues manifest in daily interactions, transforming loving gestures into sources of friction and shared spaces into arenas of silent conflict. The objective is to illuminate the often unseen emotional architecture that underpins our most significant relationships and to explore the transformative power of confronting these internal landscapes, not as an end in itself, but as the essential pathway to authentic connection and lasting love. This journey is about recognizing that the strength of a partnership isn't solely determined by external circumstances or shared achievements, but by the willingness of its individuals to engage with their own vulnerabilities and to extend grace and understanding to their partners as they navigate theirs. We're setting out to understand the silent language of marital strain, the unspoken anxieties that become the loudest voices in the room, and the profound courage it takes to bridge the growing chasm between two hearts. The genesis of marital discord often lies not in external pressures, but in the internal landscapes individuals bring into a partnership, specifically the phenomenon of trauma-informed personal manifestations, TPM. These are not simply bad habits or personality quirks, they are deeply ingrained patterns of behavior, emotional responses, and cognitive distortions stemming from past adverse experiences, often from childhood or earlier significant relationships. When these TPMs remain unacknowledged and unaddressed, they act as invisible saboteurs within a marriage. Consider how a partner who experienced early abandonment might exhibit extreme jealousy or possessiveness, not out of a lack of trust in their current spouse, but as a deeply wired defense mechanism against the perceived threat of renewed loss. This manifests as constant reassurance seeking, suspicion over minor interactions, or even pushing the partner away preemptively to avoid the pain of being left. Conversely, a person who grew up in a highly critical environment might develop an intense fear of failure, leading them to avoid taking risks or making decisions within the marriage, which can be perceived by the partner as a lack of commitment or ambition. These TPMs are the unseen architects of recurring arguments, the silent architects of emotional distance, and the subtle architects of resentment. They operate on a subconscious level, dictating reactions and interpretations that bear little resemblance to the present reality of the relationship. The partner experiencing abandonment anxiety, for instance, isn't consciously choosing to be jealous. Their nervous system is wired to perceive threats where none exist, a learned response from a time when those threats were very real. Similarly, the fear of criticism can paralyze an individual, making them hesitant to share dreams or engage in collaborative planning, leaving their partner feeling unsupported and alone in their aspirations. Understanding these origins is crucial because it reframes the conflict not as a personal failing of either partner, but as a consequence of unhealed wounds impacting the present. This perspective shift is the first step in dismantling the destructive cycles these TPMs create. It's about recognizing that the intensity of a reaction, the depth of a fear, or the persistence of a certain behavior often has roots far deeper than the immediate situation. For instance, a partner who consistently withdraws during conflict might not be disinterested or dismissive, but rather overwhelmed by a TPM related to emotional flooding, a survival response learned from a chaotic past. This withdrawal, though seemingly cold, is a desperate attempt to regulate an internal system thrown into chaos by perceived threat. The spouse on the receiving end, unaware of this internal struggle, can easily misinterpret the withdrawal as rejection or a lack of care, thereby perpetuating a cycle of hurt and misunderstanding. The key is to understand that these are not deliberate attempts to harm, but rather the often unconscious expressions of deeply held pain and learned survival strategies. The insidious nature of unaddressed personal anxieties, or TPMs, within a marital context often manifests as a gradual silting up of genuine emotional exchange. Instead of open communication, couples find themselves navigating a minefield of unspoken assumptions and guarded feelings. Imagine a situation where one partner, due to a past experience of having their needs consistently dismissed, develops a deep-seated aversion to making requests, fearing rejection or, worse, indifference. This individual might instead resort to passive-aggressive behaviors, subtle hints, pointed silences, or even martyrdom, hoping their partner will intuit their needs. The other partner, perhaps someone who values directness and clear communication, can become increasingly frustrated by these indirect signals, interpreting them as manipulative or even as a lack of genuine desire. This leads to a widening chasm. The first partner feels unheard and unseen, reinforcing their belief that expressing needs directly is futile, while the second partner feels confused, burdened, and emotionally starved, unsure of how to meet expectations that are never explicitly stated. Consequently, shared activities that were once sources of connection, a simple dinner, a weekend outing, can become fraught with unspoken tension, each moment potentially triggering an anxiety-laden response in one or both individuals. For instance, a partner conditioned by unpredictable emotional environments might experience intense anxiety when a spouse is even a few minutes late, interpreting this minor deviation as a harbinger of larger instability or abandonment, even if the spouse is simply stuck in traffic. This hypervigilance, a direct product of TPM, can lead to an overreaction that alienates the punctual partner, who feels unjustly accused and controlled. Furthermore, the constant effort to manage these internal anxieties can lead to emotional exhaustion, a state where individuals have little energy left for proactive engagement in the relationship. This fatigue can manifest as increased irritability, withdrawal, or a general lack of enthusiasm for shared life, which the other partner may misinterpret as a decline in affection or commitment. The dynamic becomes a feedback loop. Anxiety leads to withdrawal or passive aggression, which leads to misunderstanding and frustration, which in turn amplifies the original anxiety. Consider the subtle ways that a partner's TPM related to perfectionism might play out. They might meticulously control household chores or finances, not out of a desire for order, but from a deep-seated fear of criticism or a belief that anything less than flawless is a personal failing. This control can stifle spontaneity and create an environment where the other partner feels infantilized or incapable, leading to resentment and a feeling of being unable to contribute meaningfully. The core issue here is that the marriage becomes a stage for the performance of managing internal distress, rather than a sanctuary for authentic connection and mutual growth. The energy that should be directed towards building a shared future is instead consumed by the internal battles of unresolved pasts. The broader implications of these unaddressed anxieties extend far beyond the couple themselves, rippling outwards to impact their social circles, family dynamics, and even their own individual trajectories of personal growth. When a marriage is strained by internal discord, the shared social life of the couple can become a minefield. Events that once represented shared joy and connection can transform into arenas of subtle performance, where each partner meticulously guards against revealing the cracks in their foundation. This can lead to a withdrawal from social engagements, not because of a lack of desire for companionship, but out of an overwhelming fear of judgment or the inability to maintain a facade of normalcy. Consequently, friends and family may perceive a growing distance or a lack of genuine connection, leading to confusion and concern, or worse, a gradual drifting apart as the couple becomes increasingly insular. Furthermore, the emotional energy depleted by managing internal anxieties within the marriage leaves individuals with diminished capacity for other important life pursuits. Career ambitions might stall, personal hobbies could be abandoned, and the pursuit of individual fulfillment can take a backseat to the constant internal work of managing emotional dysregulation. This creates a sense of stagnation, a feeling of being trapped in a cycle of emotional reactivity, which can breed deeper dissatisfaction and regret. Consider how a partner's debilitating fear of failure, a TPM rooted in early parental criticism, might prevent them from pursuing a promotion or starting a business venture. This not only limits their own professional development, but also impacts the couple's financial security and future opportunities. The spouse, potentially unaware of the depth of this anxiety, might perceive this hesitation as a lack of ambition or drive, leading to friction and a sense of missed potential for the partnership as a whole. Moreover, the unresolved issues within the marriage can inadvertently be transmitted to children if present. Children are highly attuned to the emotional climate of their home. When parents are constantly engaged in unspoken conflict or emotional withdrawal, children can internalize this tension, developing their own anxieties, attachment issues, or unhealthy coping mechanisms. They might learn to walk on eggshells, suppress their own emotions, or develop a sense of insecurity rooted in the instability they perceive in their parents' relationship. This intergenerational transmission of emotional patterns underscores the profound societal impact of individual and relational unhealed wounds. The marriage, intended as a sanctuary of support and growth, can inadvertently become a source of learned distress, perpetuating cycles of anxiety and emotional dysregulation across generations. The individual's journey of personal growth is also profoundly affected. Without addressing the root causes of their anxieties, individuals can find themselves repeating similar patterns in future relationships or experiencing a persistent sense of unfulfillment. The marriage becomes not a catalyst for becoming a more resilient and emotionally mature person, but a recurring obstacle to that very growth. This is because the core work of understanding oneself, of integrating past experiences, and of developing healthier emotional responses is often deferred or avoided entirely when the focus remains solely on the external dynamics of the relationship. The marriage, in essence, becomes a mirror reflecting the individual's internal struggles, highlighting the urgent need for self-awareness and personal accountability as integral components of a thriving partnership. The ripple effect, therefore, is multifaceted. It impacts the couple's shared existence, their individual potential, and the well-being of subsequent generations, demonstrating that the health of a marriage is intrinsically linked to the emotional well-being of the individuals within it. Reflecting on this journey so far, we've navigated the intricate terrain where personal histories cast long shadows over present-day connections, revealing how deeply ingrained anxieties, often born from earlier experiences, can subtly yet powerfully reshape the landscape of intimacy. The initial spark of attraction and shared dreams, when met with the persistent hum of unaddressed internal turmoil, can begin to dim, not due to a lack of love, but due to the sheer weight of emotional burdens carried in silence. It's as if the very blueprint of a shared life is being redrawn by invisible hands, guided by the echoes of past hurts and the deep-seated fears that accompany them. The edifice of a partnership, built on the promise of mutual understanding and support, can start to feel unsteady when the individual foundations upon which it rests are not fully acknowledged or tended to. This isn't about assigning blame, but about understanding the profound interconnectedness of our inner worlds and the relational spaces we inhabit. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of these dynamics: a gradual erosion of authentic engagement, a subtle shift from shared exploration to guarded self-preservation. The vibrant hues of connection can, over time, appear muted, not from a failure of pigment, but from the underlying canvas absorbing and diffusing the light. The unspoken anxieties, like persistent undercurrents, can shape the visible currents of a relationship, influencing every interaction, every shared glance, every moment of potential vulnerability. It's a process akin to a garden where, without tending to the soil, weeds of doubt and fear can choke out the blossoming flowers of affection and trust. The shared space, once a haven, can inadvertently become a stage for the performance of managing internal distress, diverting energy from the cultivation of mutual growth and deeper understanding. In light of these insights, the path forward, though often challenging, begins to reveal itself not as a quest for external solutions, but as an internal recalibration. The resilience of love, we've seen, is not tested solely by external storms, but by the internal climate within each partner and the shared atmosphere they cultivate together. The courage required to face these inner landscapes, to bring them into the light of awareness and acceptance, is the bedrock upon which true, enduring connection is rebuilt. This journey underscores a fundamental truth that the most profound acts of love are often those that involve looking inward, understanding our own narratives, and extending that same grace and curiosity to the person we share our lives with. The strength of a partnership, ultimately, is not just in weathering storms together, but in the shared commitment to tending the garden of the self, ensuring that the soil is fertile for love to truly flourish. The resilience of love, we've discovered, is not merely a matter of enduring external pressures, but a profound testament to the courage with which individuals navigate their own internal terrains. The subtle erosion of connection, the widening gulfs of misunderstanding, often stem not from a deficiency in love itself, but from the unaddressed anxieties that act as silent saboteurs, fracturing intimacy by distorting perception and fueling reactive patterns. We've seen how past experiences, imprinted as trauma-informed personal manifestations, TPMs, can subtly redirect shared moments, transforming potential connection into quiet conflict, and how these unhealed wounds can cast long shadows, obscuring the present reality of a loving partnership. The very foundation of shared life, intended as a sanctuary of mutual support, can inadvertently become the battleground for individual internal struggles. A space where the energy for growth and deeper intimacy is consumed by the management of unspoken fears and learned survival responses. This intricate dance between the internal landscape and the shared relational space highlights a crucial understanding that the strength and vibrancy of love are inextricably linked to our willingness to engage with our own vulnerabilities and to extend that same grace and curiosity to our partners. Ultimately, the narrative we've explored is not one of inevitable decay, but a compelling invitation to awareness and courageous self-engagement. The true practice begins now in the quiet moments of self-reflection, in the willingness to acknowledge the unseen forces that shape our reactions, and in the deliberate choice to foster an environment where vulnerability is not a weakness, but the very conduit for deeper connection. It's in recognizing that the most profound acts of love are often those that involve turning inward, understanding our own stories, and then, with that newfound clarity, extending that same profound understanding and acceptance to the person with whom we choose to build a life. The beauty of a thriving partnership lies not in the absence of personal challenges, but in the shared commitment to navigating them, transforming the potential for discord into fertile ground for growth, and ensuring that the canvas of shared life is painted with the vibrant hues of authentic emotional engagement. This continuous tending to both the individual self and the shared relational space is the enduring practice that allows love not just to withstand, but to truly flourish.